And Steve, do good stuff on the board meeting.
Keep on fighting the good fight. We'll see you soon.
See you, Steve.
Hello, and welcome to Project Koala, the Transparency Exchange API working group. I'm going to share a document. Let's see. Okay, Zoom changed something. Now, do you see my meeting notes?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Let's see. Victor, you all should have access to this. Bitkex, what's your name? Sorry. That's you.
You can put Dominic in there.
I guess a spelling.
Yeah, with a K at the end, yeah.
Okay. Like that. Welcome. Can you tell us a bit about yourself since you're new to this group?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I picked up. I think Ole, we quickly chatted on at FOSDEM this year.
Yep.
And I watched your talk about TEA. And I think that's a very good, great idea, a very great concept. And now I finally have some time to look into it more deeply. And so I thought that joining this meeting would be helpful to get on board.
Was it you that discussed the third party at the station? Or was that someone else?
Not sure. I don't think so, no.
Okay. No, okay. I'm just confused on a certain level.
But we did talk about some things, but it was not specifically to attestation. So no, I don't think so.
No. Okay, cool. Good to have you here. And Pavel, welcome back. For those of you who haven't met you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. I'm working on a SBOM storage project, which is called Rearm, and we just released it yesterday. And the project been like, it had various functionality, but it's been in works for 6 years. And it's mostly, I mean, my expertise in the area is mostly about release management, APIs, how you build the CLI clients, and compositions between the products components. I think that's it.
Cool. Pavel was very active. Then he had to skip to finalize his product for a while. But
Yep.
happy to see you back.
Thank you.
Let's move on then. TC54 info from Steve. I have to fill in here. At the last meeting, we discussed a few things apart. I mean, in the TC54 meetings, we also discuss proposed changes to CycloneDX. So that took a little bit of time from the meeting agenda. But Steve advertised that there are both plans to update CycloneDX 1.6 to 1.7 fairly soon. But they're also brainstorming the idea about 2.0. And 2.0 will be kind of leaving, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but as CycloneDX 1 is a bill of materials format with a lot of extra stuff. CycloneDX 2.0 will have a different data model, which is I would say, a transparency definition language or something like that. Bill of materials won't be the core. It will be definitely supported, but will just be one part alongside the others. So that's happening in CycloneDX. Of course, 2.0 will take some time, but some of this was actually coming from the discussions we had about the insights part of the Transparency Exchange API as well. In other working groups, package URL work is going on. They have issue tracker filled with issues, and they're working very, very hard. Philip, John Kovalashek, and a few others. So it's definitely making progress. And if you're interested, you can follow the bug tracker and see what's happening there. CLE, the Common Lifecycle Enumeration, is also making progress. I haven't got any details on that. I haven't been able to join the meetings for a while, but basically they're defining a document where you can, for multiple versions of a product, defines where in the life cycle that product is. And this is important to align also with the Cyber Resilience Act, because in Cyber Resilience Act, you have to define the product's lifetime and clearly communicate things like end of support, end of life, and others. So that's really where we are. And there are discussions about spinning up a few new task groups in ECMA for the threat modeling, for the blueprints, and for the survivability, sustainability work that is going on. Okay.
So one comment. I attended last meeting of the CLE. They're very much looking forward to the hackathon at Barcelona.
They're gonna join. I haven't.
Yeah.
Before. Beautiful.
I do. I mean, that is my understanding. I think the thing to do is perhaps to ping Benji just to sort of double check.
I was just going to ping him and Niklas for the pencil track and start writing everything.
And Niklas has confirmed that he will be in Barcelona. He's got his tickets and everything.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have a hotel, but not the flight tickets.
Yeah.
If you're planning on going, book a hotel, because there's some race in the evening, the weekend. So hotel prices are going up over the weekend. I'm not that interested in racing, but I know Steve was knew what it was.
And Formula One is the following weekend, but I think everyone starts to arrive in Barcelona for that quite early.
Yeah.
I've actually my passport is coming to the end of its expiry, and I've had to put in an application, but it will take a couple of weeks to come, and until it comes, I can't really start to book or even think about booking a trip to Barcelona for myself. Other info is that it seems that blueprints and threat modeling might not make it into CycloneDX 1.7.
No, right. Sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
You could probably put now part of 2.0 because they were originally intended to, well, the aspiration was to get them into 1.7. But
Yep.
there's just too much on the go at the moment to make that really possible.
Yep. Okay, and the hackathon, we mentioned that. I'm working hard with Star Brown from OWASP to put it together. We're going to have a registration page fairly soon. We just chatted a lot about it. We reached an agreement with ECMA last week. So ECMA International sponsors the hackathon with half of the cost. And OWASP half of the cost for the room, food, and other things. So it'll be a free registration. I wasn't able to sneak in t-shirts, but we may still try to find solutions for t-shirts. Possible sponsors. I'm looking at Victor here, but yeah.
Ping me afterwards, we can talk.
We have to talk about a lot of things, Victor. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, true.
But we're very, very happy that we got that funding. And I'm very happy to hear Benny, because I see the hackathon as something new for OWASP. I haven't heard OWASP doing it. And I've been active in both ITF and the SIP forum with hackathons. So I think it's an important way of moving forward and evaluating API standards, other things, looking at toolings, working together, having fun together. So really hope that as many as possible can join in Barcelona.
It might also be interesting, as you say, it's first to, if it's successful, to kick off the possibility of future hackathons for other projects which are in the OWASP space.
Yeah, I just had a discussion with Star. I don't know. We suggested two different names. Either we plan for greatness and say this is the OWASP hackathon currently focused on CycloneDX and blah 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 T project as a TC54. But we could also say that this first one is a CycloneDX hackathon and focus on the work that goes on in CycloneDX. And letting dependency track join the bandwagon. Dependency track is a separate OWASP project as far as I know. But
Sorry, Paul, is hackathon on-site only, or like do you expect some do you think about some off-site participation?
That's a very good question. I think it was elegant and beautiful formed. I have no answer currently.
Okay.
If needed, I mean, surely if members that have contributed to a spec wants to be remote, we have to fix that. I'm not sure what kind of equipment we have, how good the connection will be. But I would really prefer having people on site, and we can surely plan for virtual hackathons, because I think we're going to need that as well. But coming back to Mark, I think one thing, and that goes for ECMA as well, both for OWASP and ECMA, one thing with this is that we need to learn how to do this and plan to repeat it multiple times so people expect it to happen and plan their trips accordingly. And try to develop a method of hackathons, what it brings to the project, how to run them, how to evaluate them. So there are some parts here as well we need to figure out. Okay. Any questions more on hackathon?
No, I mean, my only thinking would be make sure there's a tightly scoped theme for the hackathon and a focus. Otherwise, that could end up very spread in a lot of directions. And yeah, that's my only thinking. Like solving for a concrete output.
Yeah, we definitely need to keep the T hackathon very concrete and very specific. But if we in the room have another hackathon around another group of tables, that's fine. But that's a totally different group and a totally different hackathon. But using the same methods and maybe reporting together the benefits of the hackathons. But our hackathon is T and T only.
Yeah.
So you're right. We have to explain the different levels. I'll work on that. I have promised, unfortunately, to write up a document describing the hackathon that we can use on the website. So I may ask all of you for a review later and input. Okay. So to repeat a little bit, I'm skipping this for now, the workshop planning, since we have Pavel and Dominic here. Specification parts we need to produce for ECMA. My proposal was that we have a core spec, we have a TI spec, and we have to register some of them. And then we have the open API specifications, where the consumer part is the required part for compatibility. And JSON schemas. I think Piotr wrote in the chat that he had started working on schemas. I personally have no experience of working with JSON schemas, really. So I wonder if that's for our objects or if that's for the whole open API, because that would be a huge task. Maybe it's just for our objects that we define. We need to figure that out. But what currently we have the open API spec and we have markdown files, which we are updating in a series of workshops where we do real work and move forward. Valerio and Piotr have been part of that, and I'm really hoping that as many as possible can take part of that, so we can quickly get up to speed with something that works together and can be implemented, and publish that as a first beta for implementation. But after that, we need to start looking, and this is bureaucracy and stuff, but in order to publish an ECMA spec for Christmas, we need to convert all the markdown into something called easy markup, and figure out how we can take these documents and convert them to an ECMA document. There is a lot of experience both from the CycloneDX team. This was developed as part of TC39 in ECMA. I believe that's JavaScript, because ECMA requires a very specific PDF format, and this helps us produce that format. I think in the first version now, the ECMA standard for CycloneDX, Steve spent a lot of time writing scripts that converted the data models and schemas from CycloneDX into PDFs. But he's moving all of that now to easy markup. What we also will have to do is start running. We can have the community process where we work with the specs like this and continue that. But we will also have to work with the formal TC54, and both Steve and I have dropped the ball on that, so we need to restart that. We said that we will have meetings bi-weekly on Friday afternoons, but we haven't done the invites, and I haven't worked with ECMA to invite the invited experts. Has anyone filled in this form?
I literally just pulled it up right now.
Okay. Either if you're in a larger corporation, you can check if you're a member of ECMA, because members have voting rights. Invited experts, we can jabber around and talk until they kill us and throw us out of the meeting, but we have no voting rights. OWASP is a organizational member, but those or liaison that doesn't pay the full membership fee. So I don't think OWASP members have voting rights. We haven't had any problems. We haven't had any voting in TC54 so far. But we do need some ECMA members in the task group for T. I think I lined up a few, but we can surely bring in guys that have contributed as invited experts. just keep me informed if you fill in that so I can handle it together with Samina from ECMA, and we'll set it up. Those meetings will, at some point, ECMA will have some sort of control over the specification, like we do in CycloneDX when there's a big change to the spec. It is brought up from the community to the TC54 for revision. But otherwise, the cool stuff happens here. Mark.
Yes, the invited expert form. I've got this form. I've submitted it to our chief digital officer in my company, and he reckoned it would be important for me to actually get sign off from our legal department. So I got a message just literally 20 minutes ago from our legal department to say that they've received my request and they've assigned somebody to it. So if that is successful, what I did was I asked Samina for a little bit of kind of extra verbiage that I could attach alongside my request. And if my request is successful, that means that my text was successful, and I'll share it with you guys.
Yep.
What worked for our legal department might work for other legal departments.
Great. Wasn't there a discussion? Did you work for Fujitsu, right?
Fujitsu, yes, that's correct.
And didn't Fujitsu leave ECMA? There was some sort of discussion around that.
We joined actually about 1986, and we left in 2019. So that was many years.
Yeah. Okay.
But our CDO, he's definitely amenable to the idea of rejoining, and possibly also joining OWASP. He is quite a techie, and he does believe that companies have to contribute back to open standards and open source.
That's beautiful. But you talked with Samina, right?
I spoke with her. Oh, I hadn't actually spoken to her for about 8 months, but I spoke to her last week just to ask her for a little bit of help with getting to get a little bit of text. Basically, just a rewording of what it is that ECMA is requiring in a way of like royalty-free type stuff. And the legal department might come back with 1,001 questions.
Yeah.
But if they just approve it, then we'll know that the text that Samina suggested was good text.
Yeah. I think Samina alerted us that for some larger corporations, she would put a time limit, and this applies to all the TCs in ECMA, a time limit on the invited expert status, expecting the corporations to actually join ECMA because that's where they get a living. I don't know if that discussion applied to Fujitsu or not, but you may want to check that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to have 2 sets of meetings and continue to work. And the specification parts here is how I see it today, at least for the beta. We need to work on this and continue working and see where we are. This can be one document or it can be multiple documents. I don't know really the requirements from ECMA, but I guess we're going to learn about that. Any questions around these parts? Or we've been looking at them before, so.
Just out of curiosity, you're talking about beta of the specification, so it's kind of ready.
What we've done here then, to recap for both of you, is that we've been having a few workshops. We have an open API spec, but it's been worked on separately, I would say, from the documentation parts. And now we're trying to go through the open API specs and the specification parts in Markdown and make sure they say the same thing. Take the best of. There's a lot of cool
Okay.
ideas in the open API spec that we need to preserve, but there's also stuff important. And we found some glitches, and we're trying to fix that. And we need help to move on. I think I have a document where we added a lot of notes from the meetings we had. And we have a few pull requests and some non-existing pull requests that we need to do. But we need to come to a state where we have both the Markdown describing in more text what's going on here and what the different fields are in various objects and so on, or merge as much as possible of those descriptions into the open API spec, but we need them to align. We discovered that open API specs had one part that was totally missing from the Markdown, which was the base entry point of the API. So that was good work. Victor here and Paul Horton worked a lot with open API spec, and I think you got inspiration from Pavel's earlier open API spec. So
Yeah.
we have multiple persons that worked with that spec.
Well, the one thing on the note of like trying to clean up PRs, the Markdown linter, is that something that we want to keep or throw out? Because I want to stack things, because that's going to create a lot of merge conflicts if we don't get that squeezed in.
I looked at that, and I think it would be beneficial if we broke that PR into two, because you're also changing a lot of Markdown files.
No, but
that we are changing.
No, but that's because of the linting. So that's
yeah,
why.
I understand that.
Right.
But
Okay.
since we are changing the Markdown files, we either wait with that, but then you have to redo it.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I mean.
know,
Like,
because
merge conflicts either way.
Yeah, I think we caused stuff there by working ahead while you were gone.
Okay.
But to answer your question, yes, I would very much like a Markdown linter, because I strongly believe when working with Markdown myself in large documents, I keep finding a lot of errors that would, when converted, cause a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So I think running a linter is a good thing. I have linters in my Visual Studio, which annoys the hell out of me, but I think the end result is good.
Yes. I mean, I can roll back the run of the linter and I guess do the PR for the linter action alone. But then obviously it's going to fail when we merge it. Because
but then we can merge the other ones and then fix. I'll be happy to work on fixing the documents.
I can do that.
Can we, for now, I'm no expert on GitHub Actions. Can we put it in some kind of warning mode, but not blocking mode?
No. It's either, I mean, we can silent it fully, but then it doesn't quite do much. But I mean, you can always ignore the output of the CI run and merge anyways. Not really best practice, but it's something that you can do. Just as an override.
Okay.
If you're an admin.
Let's merge the action, then work together.
Sure.
That's stuff I can do while I'm pretending to watch TV with my family.
No, that's fair enough. I'll roll back the result of the linter and then just cherry pick out the actual linter action then.
But what do you other guys says? Or do you hate linters, or do you think it's a good thing for humanity?
Is it going in tabs versus spaces, this discussion?
I
I'm fine
mean,
with it.
I strongly
more-
believe that the end result of making sure we have a linter is going to increase the quality, just as it would with any linter for any programming language in general as well.
But there are some. I don't know if this is the same linter I have. But for instance, if you make a bulleted list in Markdown,
Yeah.
you can do it with hyphens, or you can
Yes.
do it with asterisks.
Yes.
And it takes whatever you start with and corrects the rest. It doesn't
Yes.
say that you have to use asterisk or hyphens. As long as you keep one standard, it's happy.
Yeah, this one, the one I
but-
shows is a Rust-based one that's rather opinionated. But like, as long as it's consistent, I mean, I don't. As long as it's consistent and as long as it, because we
But-
don't want to use bullet ones and hyphens
No,
in a different
no.
place, right?
No, I think if we do this now, my personal view is it's probably going to be easier to convert to the easy markup, which I
Yes.
haven't learned,
Yes, definitely.
because we have a structured text, and
Yes.
It has opinions on how many spaces you have, if you have multiple levels of a bullet list or things like that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
you will get into the tab land, Valerio.
Well, as long as we don't have any Java developers in here, I don't think we're having the space for the tab debate anymore. I thought that was settled.
Should we discuss Python?
I'm a Java
Python?
developer, but I don't really care that much.
Yeah. Okay. Nice of you, Pavel. I was a bit afraid there because I remembered you developing Java.
I mean, not only in Java, but I still think Java is good for core stuff.
It's a good thing we haven't got Piotr here as well, because then we would have multiple Java developers. So anyway, let's do that. But I would like to see if we can find dates and times that work for maybe not all, because I realize that is an impossible, beautiful vision. But maybe many of us. I'm gonna be next week. I think this week is gone. Next week I'm gonna be in Gothenburg for a conference called FOSS North. But I may take an hour off to work on this on Monday or Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday I have plenty of time from 10:30 Swedish time and up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
I can probably do Wednesday afternoon, early.
Wednesday
Yeah.
afternoon.
How many hours do you want to carve in?
It's an us with 22 in a Wednesday afternoon. No, I would say after 2 hours we're damn tired and we have too much stuff in backlog to work on.
Yeah.
But if we book 2 hours so we can focus on the 1 hour, then work on commits and do peer reviews and stuff and merge stuff the second hour, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, I mean 2 p.m. my time would work for me. So if that works for other people.
Your time is the King's Central
UTC.
Time, right?
Yes.
So that's 3 o'clock CET, all right?
Yeah. You said 3 to 5 you're available, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, which date is?
Wednesday next week.
April 16th.
April 16th. And you said 3 p.m. It's like 9. Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Great. Can we slip in a single hour on? No, that's Easter then. Oh, which I don't like working on Easter. So. This is going to be tough. I'm going to. I could possibly do early morning Tuesday the 22nd for 1 hour as a catch up after Easter. And
I don't
Early
think I can commit to that
morning,
yet.
early morning, your time won't work for me for sure.
Early is also very subjective. Ola.
I mean, we have like 7 hour or 6 hour difference, so I mean,
yeah, the problem is I have a funeral in the afternoon of my dad, so I didn't want it to go closer to lunch. Let me see, but I'm having then the rest of the week I'm going to be in Holland, but maybe we can book a meeting without me and you guys can keep working on. Any proposals? And I'll see if I can join remotely.
are we still talking April 16th or April 16th gone?
No, the following week, 23 to 25.
Can we do like around, because there is this call scheduled for 23, right? So can we do around that or do like an extra hour or something?
Let me see when I land. We can possibly do that. I have a meeting, but I don't know if I'm gonna be en route. No, I'm gonna be in flight. So, but we can convert that meeting. Let's do that. Let's convert that meeting to a workshop instead of a regular project meeting. I'm happy with that. Now we haven't got Steve here, but I'm hoping that Steve will be available to at least open up the meeting. So I'll check with him. But otherwise, you can meet on Slack and just set up a Google room or something else, right?
I mean, you're going to be on that call, right? So I'm just making sure we have someone who can actually approve and merge PRs on that call, because otherwise it's kind of moot.
If we
On the 16th, at least.
On the 16th, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
April 23rd could be that you try to discuss and reach agreement on which object that we need to figure out, and you prepare a pull request. Then the act of merging we can do later, right? But there will be discussions, and I think we are focused on unifying the object models. But I think since we have both Pavel and Victor and Piotr and Valerio, there are API discussions, and the question is if we need to document the API outside of an open API spec. But there are some interesting additions in the open API spec that we need to document. Piotr and I and Valerio try to cover the first part of the workflow as well. But I'll find those notes and I clean them up and try to put in a pull request. But there could be things we missed. But also, I know that there are strong opinions on how you write a modern RESTful API, whether you use question mark and arguments or if you put the object path inside the URL. and other things. And we need to just pick a method and make sure we follow that. I personally haven't got many opinions. I think I've been in the business for too long, so I'm used with question mark and arguments, but that may be totally bad nowadays. So that there are things to discuss. Okay, I would like to book another meeting. April 30 is the King's holiday, but also a huge party in certain cities of Sweden. And in Stockholm area, we burn fires in the evening to celebrate the arrival of the spring, the Walpurgis night. But maybe we can have a meeting and celebrate the spring and try to finalize beta 1.
I think I'm pretty booked up on the 30th already.
Okay, May 1st is a public holiday. What about May 2nd, Friday afternoon?
I won't be available, but if you still want to do it without me, it's fine.
Second could work for me.
Okay, Valerio?
I don't know if I can commit this month and then next one, so I don't vote. Or I vote fine. Yes. Same thing.
Or, okay, would May 5 be better then?
I don't know.
So I'm off May 2 through 6. I'm not available. I know those days, but
Okay. Let's try Friday then, and we'll see. But who can create a virtual Pavel using AI? Is that even possible? I don't know.
virtual what? Sorry.
Virtual Pavel. If you can't participate yourself, maybe you have a virtual assistant or something.
Oh yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to do it for past 10 years, but never had time to really implement. But yeah.
Takes too much CPU power, so.
I know, always busy with some less important stuff, I guess.
We need the equivalent of AI Guilfoyle to attend the meetings.
Let them sort this out for us.
I just had a vision of somebody saying, "Open the pod bay doors, Pavel."
There was a Russian science fiction from, I don't know, more than half century ago, and they actually already had this concept in there of like virtual, like you don't want to go somewhere, so you send it was called double. So you would send your double to a meeting or to do something for you. Pretty
That
cool
is
idea.
cool. Yeah, a shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
Well, Vladimir Putin's doing it today, isn't he? Sending his doubles to various meetings.
There are other, I would say, state leaders that may actually be improved by having a double in meetings instead of the original. I won't mention anything more, but yeah.
Maybe they do it already, we just don't know.
Okay, we have a plan. I will book Zoom meetings and mail out to those who have email addresses. The rest of you, I will also advertise in the Slack channel and so you can send me your email if you want to have a Zoom invite in your calendar to block these dates and times off. Great. Anything else we should discuss?
Just one teeny tiny thing. Whilst the meeting was going on, I got a reply from Fujitsu Legal.
Oh,
First of all, he said that the thank you for the details. It was so helpful. In other words, Samina's text really did make a difference.
beautiful.
And then he went into great detail. It's as an individual, it's obvious that this person is actually like really interested in this whole idea of like royalty free and sort of intellectual property. So I'll be completing a form in the next few minutes to become an invited expert, and I will ask his permission if I could actually share his comments with you, because they were quite interesting. I'll also twist his arm and say, come on, if you're so damn interested, how about joining the patents working group?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's brilliant. I wonder if we could share. You can definitely share this in the T, but also I think in the you're a member of the TC54 Slack as well, right, Mark?
Yes. So you're suggesting popping it into the generic EC54.
I think it would be good to have in the archive there.
Yes. Because then it's just as applicable to say the CLE work group or Perl or whatever.
Yep, exactly. As we're spinning up new groups. That's good. I haven't done much outreach. I got a question from OpenSSF to talk about T. I talked about T in at FOSDEM, but that was early February, and I haven't proposed much. VulnCon is this week. I decided not to attend on site and not to speak because of stuff. It's late night my time. So we missed that opportunity, but we'll try to cover it next year. But are there any other conferences or events or groups we should reach out to that we missed, where developers, SBOM guys and CRA guys meet?
I mean, there's DEF CON and Black Hat coming up in August.
Is the agenda set?
I've submitted a CFP for Black Hat. If I get it, it's a long shot, but I'm going at least. The agenda is probably not set for either of those because Black Hat is still accepting CFPs, so I would imagine no.
Where is this?
Vegas.
Oh, baby. Okay. There's a cybersecurity conference, Cyber UK, coming up but that's fairly soon in Manchester. I think that's very government related, government purchasing, that kind of stuff.
Only you and Anthony are there. Is that one, right?
Cyber UK?
Yeah, you and Anthony are there as speakers.
I
Is that
believe
one?
Anthony is. I don't believe I am, but maybe Anthony contributed B.
Probably only Anthony. Yeah.
Then I have to book tickets. But we are speaking together at OWASP Barcelona, but on general SBOM stuff, and I will surely mention T. But yeah, we need to keep an eye out here and especially find ways to reach vendors. Many vendors have contacted me a bit, I would say, not in the open, and they need to get the status, see where we are, and plan their development work because they're really interested. I also had a meeting with a project. There are a lot of new projects with CRA in their name. that have gotten funding from the EU. It's, to me, some of them are very, very unclear what they're going to do. There are multiple companies applied for funding, and I think they all have different agendas. But there was this project called Crazy that was really, really interested in funding open source development of a T platform. And now we have Pavel's code, we have Victor's code as well. So there are some code bases to work from.
Yeah.
Is there an implementation of the TEA spec as proposed?
No, because there's no spec. We're trying to finalize the spec, but right now it's too many moving parts.
Okay.
But as soon as we have finalized, now we have a plan here, at least a beta one, we something, then we will encourage people to start writing stuff. And there are many code generators that can be used to build frameworks for testing or frameworks for implementation. Of course, they won't build your business logic, but the core machinery behind basic HTTP thing, handling all the arguments, argument validation, and all of that
Okay.
will be done by that code. But the plan is to get it out, get at least 2 or 3 implementations each of client and server, so we can test, fail miserably in Barcelona, have a glass of wine, and go back to the spec and find out why did we fail, and then improve the spec and maybe run virtual hackathons until we actually have things that interoperate without heated discussions about if this is a string or an integer or something else, right?
The fine details of API design. Yeah.
I would like running code before we actually finalize and submit something, but we have to submit, if we want to get something standardized by the General Assembly of ECMA in December, we have to have something to contribute in September. And that's what we're pushing for now. If we miss that, we have to have something in, I think, February to reach the June General Assembly of ECMA and get approval there. Package URL have already declared that they won't make the June this year. They're shooting also for December, but we don't really know which parts, and if they have so many open issues to go through. And some of these issues, Philip was laughing, saying, I've been having this spec online and people have implemented for years. And now when we look at some of the issues people find, I don't know how they ever supported this. So I think code is essential here, definitely. And I would love for us to get resources somewhere or jointly develop a test framework, because that would also be very beneficial for the commercial developers and as well as open source. So we have kind of a reference thing.
Will it come from OWASP, or is it kind of whoever starts the repo is the first one?
For the code?
Yeah.
Right now we're focusing on the spec from OWASP, CycloneDX. T is part of the CycloneDX. We may leave CycloneDX, but right now it's easier for me and Steve to have it within CycloneDX instead of spinning up a new OWASP project. But T is independent of CycloneDX. We're supporting SPDX as much as CycloneDX. So it's kind of, yeah, it's practical reasons. But if people start a project and apply, we can either associate it with CycloneDX or we can spin up an OWASP project like dependency track is. there are guidelines for applying for projects. OWASP really have no fundings, but can provide an infrastructure and a tiny bit of funding for special resources, test tools, or other things. Many of the projects get funding elsewhere, either from corporations or from funding. I think John Koala, who works a lot with CycloneDX and Perl, got funding now from the Sovereign Tech Fund in Germany. And we're very happy for that. But I would surely love to see an open source implementation. I can imagine a library client that people can hook into commercial applications to get the flow going, and possibly a reference server. And since Pavel now open sourced a lot of his work, we can look at that as a starting point. I don't know which license you had. I haven't looked at it, Pavel, yet. But
we put for most of code, it's AGPL3, but the core, I mean, there is a like library that actually stores SBOMs on OCI storage, and that's and this is under MIT. And if the thing about the T, that I was actually planning to do it as an overlay, meaning we have our data structure, and I was thinking about kind of putting this service on top of it as a separate API from what we have. Partly because we're using GraphQL, and it's like, it's not going to be say compatible with REST. So I wouldn't, like, if I were to do it, I wouldn't mind to do like this piece with a very open license, specifically for T. Just within our framework, I need to see, and I guess, yeah, and I guess it happens when the spec is like, at least first version of the Open API spec is finalized, then we can basically look what can be done there in terms of making it more open.
If I or someone, I'm not promising anything, but if someone starts a project with a library, you may adopt that in your overlay, and you may help contribute to that library. Is that what I hear? Or
no, yeah.
You don't have to make formal promises. We are still recording, but
no, I'm not making any promises for sure, because it also like relates to work constraints, and which may come from elsewhere. But the point, yeah, so the point I'm making is if we have some open API spec that we can start working with it, then on our side, regardless of whether external library exists, we will try to make this an overlay. And then if we can make overlay an open library, then we would try to do that as well. But if that's really feasible or not, I'm not sure at this point, because we have other work to do as well on our side. But we'll see.
I know for sure that dependency track will implement. Victor and Paul will implement the APIs. So I think that's going to be a good implementation as well.
Yeah, that's great. And we like the project that we did, it actually integrates tightly with so it uses dependency track as an engine for SBOM analysis. Like all the vulnerabilities and violations. So we totally kind of use dependency track for that. And then maybe, again, I don't know how they're going to make it, but it may be actually easier if we do it on our side, and it would be useful for. But again, I need to kind of, we sort of need to start working on it. Then I'll be able to say something more clear. For now, it's just my idea of how it should evolve.
Yeah. Well, there is a chicken and egg problem because I really strongly want commercial developers implementing this without bothering with open source, but they can adopt. If we have libraries, they can possibly use them depending on the language or model and so on. But we need implementations they can develop against and test with. If they develop a client, or if they develop a server, they need a client. If they develop a client, they need a server. So we definitely need things here.
Yeah, I think client part is easy. So, I mean, sounds way easier for me than the issue. Like for me as a vendor, like the issue with the server part is we already have certain data models, and certain things we have are not going to be in, from what I understand, in at least in the first versions of T, but we have it already. So certain features we have are kind of richer, and there are certain features in T maybe that we don't have, but that's kind of that may be easier. But then those features that we already have, but they're not in T, then we need something to sort of simplify our model to fit it for the spec.
Make it dumber. But
Yeah,
after beta 1, sometime in the time frame of May or in June after the hackathon, I would love going through the differences here and look at what you have to enrich. But I'm stressing because I need to have something to show and
I agree.
something for developers to work with. But I would love to see that and see how it works.
No,
And I would
agree.
also
Like, for
love
me
to
as
get
well.
back to discussing digital signatures with you, because I remember you had strong opinions there.
No,
But that's
wasn't
coming
about
later.
it wasn't about signature. No, actually, my understanding of several, but again, it may diverged from what I don't know where you are at, but my understanding of certain concepts also advanced. But again, I think it would be beneficial, even if it doesn't work and nobody can implement it, it would be beneficial to have certain spec, at least so we could try it.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't
that's
work, I'll tell you.
that's how we make progress. We need a spec to start developing because we all want to
Yeah.
have code. But right now there are 2 big gaps, so we need to close those gaps and then get coding. And with those words, I will personally have to leave. So I'm saying officially, thank you for participating. I will, you have the dates and times in the notes to book your calendar. I will try tomorrow to send out Zoom invites to those I have email addresses for. For those that I haven't got email addresses for, please find me on Slack or email, LinkedIn, or any other way, and I'll happily add you to the Zoom invites.
Yeah,
I will
I'll send
now-
you my email just in case.
Yeah, I will now turn off recording if I'm allowed to. Yes, I'm allowed